I am Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director of Event Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers. And with me today is Cheryl Gresham. She is the CMO of Visible by Verizon. Hey, Cheryl, welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you. I'm happy to speak with you. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, I am so happy to have you to talk with you as well. And just you've been with Visible now, how long?
Almost a year. So in December, it will be 1 year.
Wow. So has it been, I mean, you kind of at least started out of COVID, kind of like, so, I mean, how has that transition been?
Absolutely. It's been great. I mean, it's starting in December, in the middle of, one of the highest selling, peak seasons for the industry was pretty intense, but also you learn really quickly
Hmm.
and, you sort of get thrown right in. So it's been great overall. And I can't believe it's been almost a year. It's gone by really fast.
Wow. I know it really does. And obviously, well, I'm sure you could just jump right in and learn quickly because congratulations, you were named what CMO of the Week by Brand Innovators earlier this year. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really a wonderful honor and super happy to, be, recognized by that group and a lot of great people there. And, it just, I think is a testament to what we've been doing at Visible and the overall marketing team as well. So excited about that.
Yeah, no, and I want to ask you though, in terms of, being innovative, what is that? And I don't mean, I'm not talking about your work. I'm not, obviously you guys do such innovative stuff, but I'm talking about just you as a person or just in general. How do you define innovative?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think, something that's been on my mind a lot recently is what got you here won't get you there. And this idea around continuing to evolve, think about things differently, trying new things, trying new approaches. And, I learned that saying, in my professional life, but I think it applies to your personal life too.
Yeah.
And, with my family, I find myself, quoting that sometimes. I'm sure it probably bothers them at times, but and even for myself, it's a good reminder to continually, I think, reassess, what you're doing in your life and, is it working? Is it not working? And what could change? And I think sometimes the word innovation, has been so obviously connected to technology, but I think, innovation can be so many things and can just be, new ideas, new challenges that you put in front of yourself to try yourself.
Yeah.
And if it's innovation for you, if it's different for you, I think that it's something, that I'm personally very curious about learning, trying new approaches, and constantly just sort of educating myself. So I think innovation is just something I try to instill, or I think is instilled within who I am as a person.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it also, they always say, it keeps your mind busy. If you're always doing the
Right.
same thing, your mind gets so lazy with, and maybe lazy is not the right word, but just it can do it by rote. It just goes and goes,
Right.
continues. So when you shake it up a bit, then it makes you think differently, like even driving to work differently or whatever it may be.
Yes.
They say it keeps your mind.
Yes, or the brushing your teeth on the other side of your mouth or whatever, or
That
with
one.
a different hand. I've read those before. So
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Well,
Taking up a new hobby, sport.
I just started. I did rock climbing, in the gym.
Yeah,
But I'm petrified of heights. And the guy's like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, when I told him, and I'm like, because I'm petrified of heights, so I want to just challenge myself. And it was
right.
a bust. I mean, it was like I was shaking, but I loved it. It was awesome. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't great. I will never be out there scaling mountains, but I left there exhilarated. And so I
yeah,
think it does really do something. But
right.
well, so I mean, have you done anything differently? I'm curious. That
It's interesting. You made me think of, I took up skiing a few years ago. I grew up in Washington State and, a lot of great mountains, but never really was a skier. And started, attempting it gosh, probably 6 years ago. And I remember I had the same feeling the first time, like I got off the lift and like, oh my gosh, just don't fall, and then going down the hill. And I was truly terrified, like terrified. It's so true of like, the older you get, you might become more fearful. And, these kids were swishing by me, on the slopes, and I was just like, don't die, So, but I've been doing that, and I've been pushing myself to be better at that, and, to do it, several times a year. And that's something I've been really interested in, and, overcoming, and as well, overcoming the fear. So I
Wow.
am also afraid of heights. So the fact that
So you
we
love
just
the
get
little,
on the
the
lift.
things yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
gonna say, it's like, all right.
Right, right. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's awesome. But no, it's and you keep doing it. I actually I want to continue doing the rock climbing too, even though, like I said, it scares me, and that's not something that I'll be ever, like I have a friend who actually scaled mountains, and so I will never be doing that with her, but it's like, but it just, the fact that you continue doing it and just keep challenging yourself, and soon you'll be doing black diamond.
I know, I know, I know. My kids don't beat me to it.
Well,
So
that's
yes.
awesome. So, and it's something to do with the kids, so that's even nicer.
Right, right.
So, but anyway, I want to ask you, because it sounds like also with your career, you started on the agency side, and
Yes.
then you were at Taco Bell. So, I guess
Hmm.
QSR. I know all these things now, being at media,
Right,
like the jargon. Then Mattel. So then you go to toys, and then YouTube and TikTok, and now
right.
here you are, Visible. So talk about that. I mean, when you were first graduating college, and what was your vision, what were you seeing, for your path, and how did it evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting when I graduated from college. I found that I was really, really interested in, two areas. One was, I'll just call it like communications, and how do you communicate ideas to others. I, was really into those classes in college. The other was, it's almost like the data side, but it wasn't like data science, like what we see, and call it today, but it was more about understanding different groups of people
Hmm.
and what motivates them, what choices they make, why they might make those choices, what influences, can be positive or negative. And I found that part fascinating when we started learning about, different demographic groups and different ways of advertising. And so I knew I wanted to go into marketing. And I'll say, truth is, I was sort of looking like one step or two steps ahead at most. I didn't have, the full plan of this is what I'm going to accomplish, by the end of my career. But I was really happy to start in the business at an agency, because I think that what that does is it forces you to learn, I'll call it like very foundational elements.
Hmm.
And I think that was a great, I'll call it foundation for where I went from. I was able to see a lot of different brands. I was able to work on a lot of different pieces of business. I was able to meet, work with, engage with a lot of different groups within the agency. Oh gosh, do I like that? Does that look more interesting? And gave me sort of like just a great menu to see what was available, to me potentially, to go into. And so I think starting at the agency was a great foundation that then really solidified for me, like, God, I love this, because I do. I love marketing. I love what we do, and want to be great at it. And so it solidified it for me. And then, from there, I started thinking, okay, well, where do I want to go and market, and what types of, products, brands do I want to work with?
Yeah.
So that
And
was
then you
great.
just, but and then, as I said, you started with Mattel, and then
Yeah.
I have to say though, a consistency is, for lack of a better word, again, innovation or sort of disruptor kind of brands. I mean, Visible, of course, and then with YouTube and with
Right.
TikTok. I mean, so all of
Yeah.
that really is sort of going testing. It's a little bit of like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see if this is going to work. Do you like that? Does that excite you, that that it's maybe something that, okay, this could fail, but this could be great.
Absolutely. I think, it's interesting because, brands like, Mattel and Taco Bell have been around for a really long time. I mean, YouTube at this point has been around for, a couple decades, which is crazy to say out loud. And TikTok and Visible a little less, but I like the ability to bring new brands, products, companies to market. And one of the things I've sort of seen over the course of this, and my team probably gets tired of me saying it, but as much as some brands and products are in this innovative bucket, and some might be more like, oh, traditional, they've been around for a long time, there's still a lot of commonalities amongst them if you look for it, and applications for learning across the companies and brands in terms of how you market. And so what I've enjoyed, and I think what I've pushed myself to do probably is a better way to explain this is I've wanted to make sure that I have stayed aware and focused on what's coming up, what's new, where back to the demographics piece, right? Where are people going? Where are people going towards? And one of the things I talk about a lot is this idea with Visible. It's all on your phone. So there are no stores, there are no 1-800 numbers. And so I was talking with someone in the business and they're like, I still don't get it. How do you get Visible? And I'm like, it's on the phone. Like, go to the web, go to the app, do it that way. And I think a lot about my time in QSR. And I remember, 10, 12 years ago, we were having this big debate at Taco Bell about mobile ordering. And everyone was explaining why mobile ordering wouldn't work. Why would anyone do that? Our drive-through times are so quick. People can get through the drive-through in, under a minute. Why would anybody order on the mobile? It's going to mess up everything, et cetera. And, you fast forward a decade ahead and you can't even imagine, the restaurant industry without mobile ordering. And I think with Visible, like that's what drew me to, one of the things that drew me to this company is this idea of we're early and we are figuring it out. But 10 years from now, my kids, they're not going to go stand in line in a retail strip mall on a Saturday afternoon to sign up for phone service. I mean, they would just like laugh. And so I think it's a long way of saying, I think what has intrigued me about so many of these industries is, as I mentioned back with Taco Bell, there was still innovation happening there with mobile ordering and building out that. And how do you market, an app? And, obviously with Visible and some of the other tech companies, there's a lot of innovation happening there. So I think it's just me wanting to ensure that I'm always sort of trying to think ahead and plan ahead and how we can be great marketers at bringing these ideas and products to people.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like, I mean, in the sense that whether you're a traditional brand or a legacy brand or a startup, you should always have that disruptor mentality, or that challenger mentality, like you don't, granted, when you're in a more traditional, larger company, you don't have the luxury of always, doing it as much as you might in a smaller brand or a startup. But at the same point, the mentality still has to be there because, as you said, you have to keep up with what people are doing. And, your kids years from now aren't going to be listening to that traditional, QSR, saying, oh, no, you can't call in. You have to wait, or we can't get your phone this way or whatever it may be. So you really have to go forward with it. Yeah,
I remember years ago, I was at a meeting at Viacom, and at the time, the president of MTV was talking to us, and he said that MTV has to completely reinvent themselves every so many years. And it stuck with me. But his point was, you've got a new crop of kids. And that's even why I liked Mattel so much, because, 70-year-old brands at Mattel, but you've got new crops of kids moving through those brands all the time. But he said, you have to reinvent, the network every, 7 to 10 years because of the people who are coming of age and, interested there. And it just really stuck with me about, I think it's applicable to so much that we do.
But you guys do so much fun stuff, and I love a lot of your campaigns. And one in particular is a holiday campaign that you have that was Smash the Drama. So, what I want to ask you is there any drama right now that you would like to see smashed?
It's so timely and top of mind, but I do think about social media a lot and where that's going, and what is happening in that space, just from a personal level, familial level, but obviously professional level, with making sure that we have brand safety when we advertise, that people feel like it's, a happy place to be and spend time, and they don't leave feeling, emotionally negative. And that it's a great opportunity for brands and companies to connect with people, as well as for all of us to connect with each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I'm thinking about, obviously watching and paying attention to quite a bit. And I think my background from both YouTube and TikTok, I see all of the positivity that can come from platforms like this, and entertainment platforms. And I think I'm looking forward to the dust settling a bit there, to ensure that they're great places for us personally to spend our time, as well as for our brands to spend our time and connect with people in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I mean, I really see what you mean in the sense that, I mean, you can't deny social media is amazing, and it's a great way for everyone to connect and to learn things and all of everything that you just said. But also, it's being abused, and we see that
Right.
in so many ways
Right.
by people of power, by people, just random people, and or I couldn't imagine in being in high school and growing up with social media. So all of
Right.
those things are sort of where you say, okay, can we fix that? Like that,
Right.
but still keep it. Like, I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
it's going anywhere. But also, and I do think it's a good thing. But I just think
Right.
that it's in some ways, it's it has those scary aspects, and
It does. And I really hope, I mean, not to get like overly, but I hope that our leaders here in the United States will act to, help ensure, and, give some guidelines, give some guideposts to help make sure that it is a good place for us all, to continue to stay and be a part of. So I'm hopeful that that is happening and will continue to happen. But I'm looking forward to sort of getting over the hump that, is very timely right now, and, the end of 22.
yeah. Well, I agree with you completely on that one. So, and people need to unglue themselves sometimes. But
Right, right, right.
that's me. I don't, I'm like I'm
Mhm.
okay leaving my phone. Like whereas I think
Yeah.
rare.
Well, I'll purposely just delete the apps from time to time. Just
Just
take a little break,
yeah,
you
no,
know.
that's really good.
So,
So, well, all right. Aside from we could sit there and talk about social media and our whatever,
right.
whatever. But I want to ask you in terms of your career, and we talked about the different brands you've worked for, different companies, and had there been a challenge? Maybe what's the hardest thing that you've come across in your career? But not again more on a professional, personal level, as opposed to trying to figure out how to sell a certain product. But what's the most challenging thing that you faced that maybe was daunting, or maybe you thought you wouldn't get through, but you were able to kind of move past it?
Oh gosh. Um, one of the things I think about, and this wasn't a specific instance, but I think it's important for marketers to really understand finance, and to be educated, understand how to read a P&L, understand how your CFO or other, executive leadership thinks about the business and the finance of what we do. And, oftentimes marketing is, it's very creative. There's a lot of data and analytics, and, I think it is balanced. obviously more with the technology and data and everything that we have available to us now. But I think one of the things I think about is it's important for people coming into this business, and even if you're already here, how important finance and understanding financials are, and understanding the the different points of view of the decision makers within your company or maybe at your client's company. That, sometimes you can have great innovation, but the question will be, but what did it do for us?
Mhm.
And so I think that was something that stands out to me a lot. I will say some of the companies I've worked at have been very marketing led, marketing driven, and some of the companies, marketing's not the primary thing that they're focused on. And I think being able to understand the difference and understand how to be effective, whether you're at a marketing led company, a finance led company, an operations led company. I think that's something that I didn't think of or plan for early on, but it started to show up a lot. And I remember I even at one point ended up taking a finance class, some night classes, just to get more educated so I could talk the same language, to the CFO, financial leaders within the company, to understand, how we need to portray, and not only portray, but like actually do, in terms of the investment of the dollars we're spending, how that's connected back driving the business. Is it connected back to driving the business? And sort of learning that impact so that you can be a successful marketer. Because if you're not understanding the financials and the impact of the decisions on the recommendations that you're making, you're going to have a really hard time being successful.
And it's funny you say that because we just had our CPG Brand Insider Summit, and we had a panel, and two of the panelists were talking specifically about getting people to realize the value of marketing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of what you're saying. It's just basically if you can understand their mind, like they're trying to teach the powers that be to understand their mindset. So
Right.
on the reverse of it, it's the finance people need to also understand the value of marketing and not just assume, hey, these people are buying stuff just because they're buying it because the product's good. It's also because
Right.
you're presenting it in a way, the marketing team is presenting it in a way. But it's like you both kind of, it seems like you each need to understand each
Yeah,
other better and not be in such a silo. So then that's when
exactly.
you'll be able to move forward. And I would think with that mindset, you must be able to maybe move forward with different campaigns or different even things you want to test, maybe things that they're not used to
Exactly.
coming at them the way they speak.
Exactly. And I was going to bring up like testing, testing hypotheses, testing, your way into a certain path that you think might be right, or it could be wrong, and you'll learn. But being, I think, connected with your finance partners and being transparent, and helping to communicate with them about how marketing works. It was interesting. I remember an interesting story of like something so many of us work on all the time, but competitive reporting. And I was at a company, and the folks in finance were in a different country. And it was, we literally had to do a 101 on competitive spending reporting, and what that means and doesn't mean, and how do you calculate ROI, and does that include benefits and healthcare in the amounts. And it made me realize some of the things we as marketers just take for granted that everybody knows. You have to stop and remind yourself that just as much as we might not know about operations of something, our partners in the industry, aren't really as up to speed, obviously, on marketing. That's our role, but being good partners with them, and sort of holding hands, bringing them along, and answering the questions. And again, just being transparent, because as much as we want to go and of course do great marketing, we're responsible for the business results.
Yeah.
And the business results aren't there, the great marketing is not going to be there either.
Well, and it
So,
probably wasn't great marketing. not,
right, exactly, exactly.
not to be whatever, but if you're wanting to invest all this, I mean, there are a lot of, I mean, and we've seen them, big flops of, like big marketing expenses, spending a lot of money, and doesn't result in much. So then, of course, the
Right,
next time you go back to try to do that to the money guys, or money people,
right,
then you just might have a hard time convincing them. So it's about
exactly.
understanding each other. I agree. Well, I want to find out a little bit on the fun side. What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh gosh, I love the Housewives on Bravo.
Really?
That's probably one of my like that. I mean, I love the reality TV. The other night I turned on the Kardashians just to like relax and unplug. And I think, it's silly, but I call it like just candy. And that's probably the one, obviously, that comes top of mind. But I love myself a great reality TV series. The real estate shows, the travel shows, the family shows, all of them. But it's just, I think it's so, I don't know, it's so different in some ways that it's relaxing. So that's probably one big guilty
Well, you started
pleasure.
off the Housewives. Is there a particular like housewives of order?
Favorite is
Me too.
Beverly Hills,
Are you in New York or?
LA.
Oh, you are in LA. Okay, so all
Yes.
right. So I was going to say, would that matter? Demographics. So obviously Beverly Hills, closer to home. So will
Yep.
you
Yep.
be
Yep.
auditioning?
I'm sorry.
Will you be auditioning?
I know. Oh my gosh. What's funny though? You notice none of the women ever work for a company. I was thinking about that. They usually are all self-employed or, not. But I was thinking about that once. I'm like, I don't know how anyone who works for a major company could go on one of these
Well,
shows.
if they can't still be, they may have it in the past, but they can't.
Right.
I think
Right.
one of the ones I don't watch them. I am not a reality fan. You have to talk with my younger brother. He is like whenever I'm
Right.
visiting, I have to watch them with him, and I have to admit I get sucked in. It's like I
Right.
totally see that. I just then won't go back and watch it on my own. But
Right.
what I think there was one woman in Beverly Hills who was very successful on her own. Like a lot of them, they became it maybe through their husband or through the
Yeah,
show.
well, and they have their own businesses, a lot of them. I'm trying to think, but it's, I
Maybe
can't think of
she's
anyone off the top of my,
um, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure who she was because, like I said, it was just I picked up bits and
yeah,
pieces when I would watch it with my brother. But yeah, no. I mean, I would get sucked in. I get that completely, but it's funny. I didn't expect that one, so that's all right.
I know. So yeah, that's definitely one of them. So yeah, I could talk all day about that.
Well, and the thing is, when you do run into people who both watch or the conversation it's like you get
It
angry.
elevates.
You get like
Right.
heated, like no, she's right. No, like it's your family.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then I find myself doing, what so many people do of, using social media and going to see what the conversation is there, and just yeah, it's definitely it's a fun escape, a fun escape.
Well, that sounds great. My escape is Hallmark movies. I
Oh,
watch,
well, this is the key
I'm
time for
I
that.
don't like the fighting. I like the happy ending. Let everyone get along. They might have a tiff, but then they make up.
Right,
It's like,
right, right, right.
I like that. I have enough drama in my life, I guess, that
I
I
know,
like
right?
to share. But so, all right. My last question to you is: if you weren't a marketer, what would you be? What's Plan B?
It's so funny. I was talking to my daughter about this the other day. Um, my younger self really was interested in politics and speech writing,
Really?
hence the communications and how do you influence people, all of that. I think now I am obsessed though with like real estate, and maybe it's because of my guilty pleasure of the real estate shows and all of that. But I think the idea of uh, buying and selling homes, rentals, rehabs, creativity outlet through that, I think is something that I find really interesting. But sort of, I'll call it two ends: younger self, speech
Mhm.
writing in DC,
Yeah.
a little bit older self, yeah, something with real estate.
What would you want to be, selling it or fixing it up or renovating? Like which
I
side of it do
think
you want?
all of it.
All of it?
Not being an agent, not being a real estate agent, but like being like the buyer, and then you go in and you fix the places up, and
A flipper.
what do you, right? What do you do from there? Do you keep it? Do you sell it? Like all of that. So yeah.
Very cool. So, and then we'll have to talk in like another 10 years and we'll see what that even older self wants to do.
Right? It's so interesting. Yeah. Just as, as you grow and how your things change. I still am very interested though. I love listening to people, not just politicians, but when they are giving speeches. And there's something about the art of the writing of that I just think is, can be really beautiful and powerful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you have a good speechwriter, and that goes a long way for in any
Hmm.
industry. So, well,
Right.
Cheryl, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This was awesome
Thank you.
to know you, and thank you for watching. Again, if you have a woman marketer that you'd like me to sort of find out a little more about, have a conversation with, please send me any recommendations. I will do my best. Thanks again, and thanks again, Cheryl.
Thank you, Lisa.